Here's something I thought I would never say. An Israeli prime minister flew through Saudi airspace and landed in Abu Dhabi. It may sound like fiction, but that's geopolitics in 2021. Anything is possible. Let me show you some pictures. They were unthinkable a few years back. An Israeli prime minister arriving in Abu Dhabi, a UAE foreign minister waiting to welcome him. Simply put, this is history. No Israeli prime minister had ever visited the UAE before this. Naftali Bennett is the first. And something tells me he won't be the last. Bennett held talks with the UAE's crown prince, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, better known as MBZ. What did they discuss? Broadly speaking, two things: Iran and the Abraham Accords. Now, world powers, we know, are negotiating the Iran nuclear deal in Vienna. And Israel wants some clarity. Last week, the UAE's top security official visited Tehran. It was the first high-level visit since 2016. Does this mean the UAE is going soft on Iran? That's what Israel would want to know. As for the UAE, it was all about expansion. How much money can this relationship generate? The answer is a lot. The UAE is expecting $1 trillion in economic activity by 2031. $1 trillion. We're talking about investments, trade, joint projects, everything put together. And even then, this is highly ambitious, this $1 trillion target. Right now, bilateral trade stands at $700 million. To go from $700 million to $1 trillion in 10 years is nearly impossible. But that's how fast things are moving. In June this year, Israel opened its embassy in Abu Dhabi. The very next month, the UAE opened theirs in Tel Aviv. So far, Israel and the UAE have signed 70 agreements, 70. They cover energy, agriculture, aviation, sports and media. Reports say Bennett may consider selling missiles to the UAE. Now, this would be a diplomatic coup, an Arab-Israel defense platform against Iran. Only two questions remain. What happens to Palestine then? And how is Saudi Arabia reacting? The Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, is livid. Their spokesman called this visit a violation of the Arab consensus. Most people in the UAE agree. Public opinion continues to be pro-Palestine. So why are the UAE's rulers taking this risk? For starters, $1 trillion is a lot of money for anyone. And secondly, they're keeping this visit discreet. No official announcements, no local media coverage. It's pure business for the Emirates. Now, the second question: how is Saudi Arabia reacting to all of this? There's been no official statement from Riyadh, but they did permit Naftali Bennett to fly over their airspace, remember. Could this be interpreted as tacit approval? Perhaps. But the UAE is not waiting around. They're charting their own foreign policy, it seems. I can give you examples. They have pulled out of the war in Yemen. But Saudi Arabia is still fighting that war. The UAE have also joined a new Quad in West Asia. The members are Israel, India, the UAE and the United States. Clearly, there's a big realignment happening here. Iran on one side, everybody else on the other. Well, that's the new equation in the region. The United States also prefers this setup. They don't have to balance ties between the Arabs and Israel anymore. But where does that leave Saudi Arabia? Technically, it's out of the equation. Joe Biden is not a fan of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He's not a fan of the Saudi monarchy. And the UAE is looking to capitalize on this. They're hosting U.S. troops at the Jebel Ali port. It is the U.S. Navy's busiest port of call outside America. And last week, they shut down a Chinese project under U.S. pressure. The game plan is clear. America needs a partner in West Asia, a country that can talk shop with Iran, a country that has normalized ties with Israel. The UAE seems like the only answer at the moment. In return, a world of opportunities opens up for the Emirates. More travelers from Israel, more weapons purchases, and more research and technology, and most importantly, more diplomatic clout. What about Riyadh? For them, this is a wake-up call. You cannot swim against the current for too long. Religious symbolism and history will only get you so far in geopolitics. Today, it's all about money and power. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.